episode 87 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki, and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet, and making all the things here in Northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki. I should point out here that I am taking a break from Instagram, which was meant to only be for November last year and has continued because I don't really miss it. So I probably will go back, I just don't know when. But for nostalgia's sake, and so you can see previous posts about previous projects, I will link that just below along with everything else I mention on this podcast. Where I can, I will be providing links that are marked very clearly Ravelry and non-Ravelry, so that if you are unable to use Ravelry in its current skin, the new Ravelry, whatever we're calling that, I'm not techie, can you tell? But if you're unable to use that, I will try and find a non-Ravelry place for you to see patterns, etc. And as I say, they will be very clearly marked Ravelry or non-Ravelry. As always, a very big welcome to new viewers. Thank you so much for giving the podcast a shot. I know there are so many out there, so I really do appreciate it. And to my returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back. It is a particularly big thank you this week because I know that this year, 2021, I have been irregular, to say the least. And I really appreciate you sticking by me and understanding that that is due to, the mental health that comes from living through a pandemic. So I really appreciated your empathy and just your patience in the comments on the last episode. So thank you very, very much for that. I always forget to mention this, so I did leave a note in my show notes as like a permanent reminder, and I continue to forget. So we will call this one of the rare occasions when I mention I do have a Ko-fi account. It will be linked below, so if you would like to buy me a coffee, now that I can go out and actually buy one, that would be really, really lovely of you, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, today's tea, wow, okay, I put hand cream on before starting, and because, you know, I don't know about anyone else, but my hands have been really dry. The weather, the hand washing, the alcohol rubs, it's not good times. And I clearly did not rub that in enough. So we'll hold it like this for safety. But this is another addition to my mug collection that I got between Christmas and at some point recently. But this is another little baby Yoda mug. It says a nice cup of anti-murdy juicy juice. And I think that probably is meant to refer to coffee. But no, for me, it is tea. It is always tea. You know, I can be having a really grouchy, grumbly day and one little sip of tea and I'm relaxed. So it really works for me. Unless it's a bad cup of tea. Like if it's a horrible, weak cup of tea, then I'm like, you know, hello darkness, my old friend, that kind of thing. Which is ironic because the problem is that it's not dark. I like a good strong cup of tea, and this is the same as last time, I think. It's the Betty's Tea Room Blend, and it was simply a case of grabbing what was to hand when I was in the kitchen. Because we're still on a done is better than perfect gig. We are still sans microphone, one light only, and we're just working with what we have because that's just the way the world is currently. But it is really, really delicious. I actually got a Betty's hamper for my mum and Nan for Mother's Day, so we do have plenty more of this tea blend. This was like the last one in the box, so that is probably the best like review I can give it, is that we all wanted another box, so I got another box for them as part of a little hamper. But now, after a particularly rambly intro, let's move on to Whipped Up. The one thing I will say about the gaps between episodes at the moment means that it is far more likely that you will see a faux. And that is true today. And just a little bit of background before I show it to you. It's fairly late in the day. It is 5 to 6. And I had been planning originally to film first thing. I was going to go for my run first thing in the morning and film straight after, and then chill the rest of the day. I say chill, I have actual life admin to do, but you know. But instead I sat obsessively watching YouTube videos and trying to finish this. So this is fresh off the hook. My advent blanket has been finished, and as I'm looking at it on the little camera screen, it gives me such vibes of my Cozy Memories blanket, which was knitted, and this is crocheted, because it's got that Elmer the Elephant look, which I love. So this is the Solid Granny Square by Attic24, by which I mean I followed her how-to. I don't know if she invented it, in all honesty, and I crocheted every square out of the advent yarns that I got in my advent swap with Amy of Stranded and Katie of Inside number 23. And as you will see on some of them, let's try and find a good example. There we go. I used all the pink up in 2 previous squares, so I started it and then used some leftovers from this kind of multi-speckled white cream to make another one. So it is, I want to say 11 by 6. Let me count. It's definitely 6. Hang on, 1. Yeah, so it's 11 by 6. So it's quite narrow, and it's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's particularly long either, but it is a pretty ideal size for a pram blanket or like a baby blanket, so that is what it will hopefully be used for. I used West Yorkshire Spinners Poppy Seed. It's their signature 4-ply, and it's the grey, and I bordered every single square in it and then joined them with it, and then I used the grey and the bubble gum, which I always call spearmint, and it is bubble gum, also West Yorkshire Spinners, to do just a really simple, quite thin border. I didn't want to do anything too chunky, and I just did that in hump stitch because I like how it looks. It kind of made a thinner stripe of blue, which is what I wanted, and I also really like the texture on that. I could do a whole blanket in hump stitch. I really like it. So yes, the idea with this is I don't need any more blankets in my life, but I really enjoy the advent swap, and I liked making something a little bit different, and I really want to donate this. So this will be donated to a charity. I'm not sure which one yet. I really need to get on that and figure it out. But for the time being, I'm super happy with this. I think, as with all things, there was a moment where I was like, this is going to be so beautiful, and then I was like, this is going to be so ugly, and then I thought it's maybe not going to be too bad, and now I just think it's great. I think it's crazy and fun, and because of just the sheer amount of different colours, we've got solids, we've got stripes, we've got like speckles down here. Because of all of that, because none of it matches, it just works together, which I really, really like. And it was the same for my Cozy Memories. It was the same for my Cozy Stripes. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. And I think, as I said before, this is what I'm going to do every year. I am going to make a charity blanket. The one thing I do want to talk about in this project is the like join as you go method. I found a Bella Coco video. I really like her crochet how-tos. I find them really easy to follow. So I found one of hers. It's not really join as you go, because the first thing I had to do was border every square in grey. And I genuinely took join as you go at face value, and I thought I was just going to be like bordering them as I joined them, which now that I think about it was very naive of me, and I have no idea, because I'm not an expert crocheter. I'm super beginner crocheter. So I've got no idea how that would even go. But, so I did feel a little bit like this is not join as you go, but I systematized it. So first of all, I laid out all the squares and figured out kind of what order I wanted to put them in. And then I made 6 little piles. And then I would border them all, and then I would crochet them together. So I ended up with 6 strips. I had like 6 crochet streamers basically. And that's when I ran out of poppy seed, and that was over Easter weekend when I was feeling a little bit rough. My hay fever really kicked in, and I find that when you take time off work for more than just the weekend, it gives your body time to be like, we can relax, and if we can relax, we can get sick. And I wasn't really sick, but I just felt like really, really tired, and I just wanted to sleep because I just felt tired. But yeah, I basically did so much of the work on this then, but I couldn't join the 6 long strips together until the yarn came yesterday, which was Friday. So I sat and joined them all last night, and I started working the border while I watched The Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then I got up this morning and I thought, I'm just gonna watch a couple of YouTube videos while I eat my breakfast before I go for my run. And I finished my breakfast before the video finished, and I don't like just sitting there, so I started crocheting, and I finished the border and started the blue, and then I was like, oh, I might as well just finish it. And that is how I ended up going for a run much later in the day than intended, and why it's 6 o'clock while I'm filming this. But absolutely 100% worth it. I can now show you this in person, in the wool, so to speak, and then I can photograph it for my Ravelry page, and then I can send it off. So yeah, I'm very happy with this indeed, and I highly recommend scrappy squares. I mean, I recommend scrappy projects anyway, but yeah, this is just another one that I have done that I have really enjoyed, and it has a nice squish to it, which I am very, very fond of. Next up is the only other whip for this week, and it is a hoe. So after having this on the needles for the longest time, I have finished one yarn day sock. This is from my recipe that I came up with by following the videos by the ladies at Meanwhile at the Castle, and it is knit out of West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply bubble gum, not spearmint, although now I'm second guessing myself, but whatever it is will be on the screen correctly, because you can't trust me to say the right thing. And the main body of the sock is in their Yarn Day 2017 colourway, I think. And this has been my Zoom knitting for a very long time, and the problem was that other projects got to a good zooming point. So first my Kerrytown, I got onto the back of that, and because it was just really back and forth, mostly knitting with the occasional row of purl, why wouldn't I work on that when I could get a jumper done? And then there was my blanket, and now I'm finally getting on with the sock. So there you go, proof that I have cast on the second sock. There it is. I have actually started the body of the sock. I've got about 7 stripes to do before I do the heel, and I am just going to go like crazy on this because I just want to get them finished, to be honest. And I think the issue is that other projects took over. This was very much just a kind of grab and go project rather than a passion project like my Kerrytown and my blanket. But I also, they're not super my colours. Now, I really like this colourway. I think it does what it says on the tin. It is the Yarn Shop Day logo to a T, but these kind of shades of pink, I'm not super into like pinks anyway, and even like reds, they have to be quite dark. See my Kerrytown. So yeah, these are not super in my colours. They're going to be really comfy to wear. They're going to have a nice little flash of cute colour out the bottom of my jeans, but I think that's partly it. These are not the nickiest of colours, and if you have been following the podcast for any length of time, you will have worked that out. I love my jewel tones of like dark greens, teals, blues, purples, and dark reds. Not so much these bright cerises. One thing I will point out, which you probably can't pick up on camera, so I could probably get away with, but I'm going to point it out, is that I managed to put my stitch markers on the wrong way around. So I've got stitch markers that tell you what to do, so like make 1, knit 2 together, SSK, etc. And I always put the knit 2 together SSK on my socks, obviously, so that if I'm watching telly, I don't have to think, I can just glance down and see. and I put them on the wrong sides. So whereas you can see the line of my gusset, and it, you know, it's still a straight line, but it doesn't have that, like, you know. Okay, the comparison that I'm coming up with, I have been reading a lot of fantasy recently, and all of the heroes in the fantasy books I've been reading are like fairies, and they've all got these like super like cut jawlines, not jawlines, that's cheekbones. They've got really cheekbones, and normally that is what you would have in a sock. You would have a really gusset. This is not. This doesn't have quite the same pop. Am I going to do it correctly on the other one, or am I going to make them match? I don't think it matters. Ultimately, it's a pair of socks, and they're going to keep my feet toasty. They're going to fit. That's all that matters. I'm not too precious about that kind of thing. If they were my Christmas socks, I might be a bit more precious. So that is kind of all I've been working on at the moment. I do, however, have another garment in the works. I had started it, but I have pulled it out because, as I said, I am not a particularly good crocheter at all. But I decided that this year I wanted to crochet a garment. It's like one of my things to do this year. So I have been, I'm actually going to sip my tea instead of completing that sentence. There we go. I have been browsing Pinterest, browsing Ravelry to find something really cool to make. And then a friend of mine sent me the Dreamcatcher cardie, which is available on her blog post. And I can't for the life of me remember the designer. And I didn't update the show notes, so I don't have it to hand. It will be on the bottom, and I will link to it both on Ravelry and on her blog. But my friend sent this over to me. She thought it was really me, and I got myself some NikkiHippy wool of the Andes. Ta-da! I'm going to keep it in its little plastic bag, so sorry for the ambient rustling. But this is NikkiHippy wool of the Andes, which I've never used before, but I got a good garment quality here. Quantity. It's 100% superwash wool, and it is in, I want to say camel heather, but it doesn't say. Yes, it does. It says on the front, which is quite unusual. But this is camel heather. I like heathered toned yarns. I just think they give something a little bit more body than a solid tone. Having said that, my Kerry town is solid, so ignore me, I'm talking nonsense. But yes, I'm going to make the Dreamcatcher cardigan out of this. It's a pretty simply constructed garment. I can't give too much away. It's available for free on her blog, but it's paid for on Ravelry, so I'm not really sure of the ethics there. But essentially there is a crochet motif in the back of the cardigan, and it has a nice thick, not thick, but like deep collar, and it's quite roomy and baggy, and I just thought how nice it would look with jeans and over a little t-shirt in the kind of spring, autumn, and I live in England, so even in summer. And you know, if I ever get to go to the beach, great to throw on there as well. So yeah, that's something that is coming up. I had started it, I somehow managed to get the counts completely wrong. It looked fine, it just wasn't lining up properly according to the pattern, so I ripped it out. So I have nothing to show you apart from the yarn, which brings us quite neatly onto stash. Because if you watched last episode, you will know that I treated myself to some lovely yarns and left some of them downstairs. So these are the two other ones. They are both Twisted Limone, and I'm just trying to figure out which one to go with first. This is, ooh, stay. This is the self-striping sock yarn, and this is peppermint bark. I love these gobstopper balls. They're so, I always thought they'd be solid, but no, they're so squishy and delicious. And I love the colours in this. I particularly like this white with all the spots in it. I love that. So that will be going happily into my Christmas box of socks. And this one, again, also Twisted Limone, also the Zingy self-striping sock yarn. Is that what this one was called? Zingy, yes. Good reading, Nikki. Well done. This is called Cactus Flower. However, this is also going to go in my Christmas box of socks because there's something about this red and this white and this brown and this green that says Christmas to me. So I have 2 new Christmas socks. Well, like the embryos of them, because Lord knows I haven't knit them up yet. So yes, that is some more stash. So I think when it comes to coming up, what is going to be on my needles, on my hook next, 100% gonna go super monogamous on my sock until it is finished and I can call them a pair. And then I am going to work on my crochet cardigan while I have some Christmas socks on the go, because I am feeling that. About a week ago, just over a week ago, it was so warm here, like so warm. I went for a walk and like got back and was like, oh my God, I'm so sweaty. But now, yeah, it's not warm anymore. So yeah, I'm feeling the Christmas, But that's it for Whipped Up this week, and there is going to be a knit and natter, though I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet, but I will see you over there. Now, as I said in the last episode and at the top of this one, I am trying to make my podcasting life easier, and by that I mean not having such a rig up because setting up the mic and 2 sets of lights and moving everything out of the way can be a lot of work, which you then have to take down afterwards, which is a good way of like doing a general tidy up, but is a lot when you're feeling quite tired. And I am overall feeling better, but as I say, I do feel generally still quite tired a lot of the time, and I think we're all kind of feeling that. I think we all feel that feeling of just, I don't want to say over it because that sounds really dismissive about the year we've all had, but over it, you know. It's, my body's just like, come on, this is done, and at the same time incredibly anxious about opening up again and getting back out there. So it's quite exhausting to have those 2 things existing within you at once, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. But the one thing I did want to talk about today, very, very briefly, is that I have been running. Now, if you are new to the podcast, I was going to say last year, it was not last year, in 2019, 2018 really, I got quite into running, and in 2019 I ran 2 half marathons, and for 2020 I was going to run a 10-mile race every month. Nothing official. As it turns out, I'm not a big fan of official races. There are like too many people. I don't really like the bit at the beginning where you have to hang around for an hour before you can start. I like to just go and then be done. And getting home after one of those things is a bit of a nightmare, depending on where you've gone, how far away from home it is. So yeah, I decided I was gonna like plot my own 10-mile race and go every month, and that would kind of keep me motivated to train, because it was gonna be a race against myself. I'm not super competitive. I'm not competitive at all, truth be told. But I did kind of want to shave seconds and minutes off by the end of the year. I got 2 runs in last year, and then the pandemic happened. And I just didn't feel confident about training 3-4 times a week, long distances, running long distances at the end of the month outside. It just, you know, you were meant to take an hour's exercise, and no matter how hard I trained, I was not going to manage 10 miles in an hour. I'm not Paula Radcliffe. So I really did lose a lot of my fitness, which is a lot of the reason why I felt quite down. I'd worked quite hard to get to that level, and I feel like it had been taken away from me through no fault of my own. And yes, I could have kept running outside, but here's the other thing. I hate running outside. I hate it. I just don't like it. I really enjoy treadmill running. I was happily going to do the 10-mile run itself once a month outside, because I was going to try and plot a route that was away from people. Basically, I don't like running outside. I prefer treadmill training, to sum up. However, when I found out the UK roadmap to coming out of lockdown, and I knew that gyms were going to reopen from the 12th of April, I did not want to go into the gym and start from absolute zero. I have done that twice last year, in the summer and then again at the end of the year before we went into this new lockdown. But I didn't want to do that again. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do the BBC Get Inspired Couch to 5K. And this is an app, and you can choose your celebrity who will coach you. And it's 3 runs a week, and I have just completed week 5. Literally just, I did it a couple of hours ago. And I've got 4 more weeks to go on that. Is it 8 weeks or 9? I just did week 5, I'm about to do week 6, basically. And there is a part of me that feels a little bit down when I consider that, like, not quite this time last year, but like last March, I was able to run 10 miles, if not easily, comfortably. And it feels a bit rubbish that I'm running like 4K in kind of fits and starts, because it's a walk run program, and you gradually run more over the course of the few weeks. But I have to remind myself that there has been a pandemic, and at least I'm trying. So yeah, there is that kind of meh in my head. But as I get more comfortable with the running again, and as I move through the weeks, that is receding quite a lot. So I've just ignored it and carried on, which is something I can definitely recommend. And I have been doing that outside. I figured it's 3 runs a week. At the moment, they've been 30 minutes max. As I say, I've just finished week 5. It so far has been no more than 30 minutes. And I thought, I can do that outside. I can do that. That is a sacrifice that I can make, so that I can go back to the gym and feel like I'm not starting at absolute zero. I still don't like running outside. Like, this has not been a discovery of like, oh wow, I love running. I hate it. I hate it. I run in the park. I think this is, to be fair, probably just because of where I live, because I have run outside in other places in the UK and it's not been that bad. So yeah, I thought I'd share my my trials and tribulations about road running, because one of the reasons I do run is because I really like shutting my brain off. I find when I'm on a treadmill, I can set the pace, I can set the time. I don't have to worry about, have I slowed down, have I sped up, and am I keeping a steady pace? I don't have to think about that. I don't have to think about potholes. I don't have to think about dodging and weaving. I don't have to think about rain. I got rained on today, it was miserable. I say rained on, be honest, Nikki. It was a light, but it was still unpleasant. It was still unpleasant. But yeah, so I really like that on a treadmill, because I can just go, and because it's so steady, it somehow like just rocks my brain into a really calm, clear place. It's my form of meditation, and that's not something I can get outside because I'm constantly doing this. But I just thought I'd share that with you, because I really thought when I did this, I was like, you know, in the films and in books, you do this and there will be a moment. That was a really, there we go. There will be a, and I will be like, I love running outside. I'm going to cancel my gym membership. This is it. I'm going to just keep doing this. That isn't going to happen. I discovered that I don't mind it as much as I did, and actually this week is the week the gym is reopening, and I am not going to the gym because of stuff at work. I have to work late this week, a couple of days, and it is just more convenient to go on my run for half an hour on my lunch break, and I can't do that. You know, it's a good 15-minute walk to the gym, and then I've got to get in, I gotta like, but I do want to get my runs in. I don't want to miss a week, so I will be running outside. So I am augmenting, I'm like adding outdoor runs to my schedule when it is, rather than going, oh, I can't go to the gym today, so I can't get the run in. Yes, I can, because I don't hate it as much as I thought I did. I can get it done. But I just thought I'd share that with you, because I think a lot of us do things where we go, I know this is good for me, and I know it's good for my body, I know it's good for my brain, And at some point, something will click and I will fall in love with it. And I haven't fallen in love with road running, and that's okay, because I only have to do it half an hour 3 times a week. And I feel a lot better. It's good for my brain. It's made my body feel better. You know, sometimes you can do things that you don't love and they're good for you. And that is a good thing. And that is so much blather, and I am so sorry. Hopefully I won't have to do too much editing here. And as I said before, I will caption this as soon as possible. Hopefully I will be able to do it before it goes live, but if I have not, please bear with me. The captions will be live as soon as I can possibly do that. But in the meantime, I am going to probably go and get myself another cup of anti-murdy that stuff. Tea. I'm gonna get another cup of tea, do the editing, and enjoy a drizzly grey evening here in London. I hope you're all very well. I hope, a bit like me, you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and you're still being gentle with yourself, because that is all we can be right now. I will see you very soon for another cup of tea. Take care. Bye. It's a particularly